So if you recall in the last example that we had, we were factoring a trinomial, just like this one, but all of the terms were positive. We're going to focus on this example here, where the last term, the constant term, happens to be negative. So as I said in the last video, I have yet to find an example that factoring this way does not work on. If it doesn't work, either one, you might have made a mistake, or it's not factorable. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply our first term times our last term. So that's going to be 4x squared times a negative 2. And notice I put the negative 2 in parentheses, so that reminds me I need to multiply these two. So 4 times a negative 2 gives me negative 8, and then let's bring the x squared with it. And then remember, we want to put this term here, 7x, down here. And notice how I circled the positive with that. So this term down here is a positive 7x. So now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me a negative 8x squared, but at the same time, so they multiply to give me a negative 8x squared, but at the same time they add to give me a positive 7x. So I'm going to list the factors of negative 8 off to the side here. Actually, I'll start with just 8, and we'll think of the negatives later. So we'll do 1 times 8 gives me 8. 2 times 4 gives me 8. 3 doesn't go into 8. 4 does go into 8, so 4 times 2. So it looks like I can stop there because these two happen to be the same. Okay, so these are the only combinations here that I have to work with. So let's think. I have 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. Well, if I add 2 and 4 together, that's not going to be 7. Okay, so let's look at 1 and 8. So 1 plus 8 gives me 9, so that doesn't work either. But I bet if I subtracted a 1 from 8, that might work. So let's try that. 8 and negative 1. So 8 minus 1 gives me a 7, where 8 times a negative 1 gives me a negative 8. So it looks like we found them. So 8, this needs to be an 8x, and this needs to be a negative 1x. Okay, so now let's go back to our original polynomial. Remember, the first term is always going to go here, so we're going to list 4x squared, and the last term is going to go down here. So 4x squared and negative 2. All right, and then the numbers we found here, these are going to go in the remaining boxes, and it doesn't matter which way you write them. I'll just go ahead and write, let me change colors here. I'll go ahead and write 8x here, and I'm going to write a negative x, because we usually don't write a 1 in front of an x whenever the coefficient is 1. Okay, so now let's factor out the GCF of these two, 4x squared and 8x. So what is the GCF of 4 and 8? So the GCF of 4 and 8, the biggest number that goes into both, is 4. Okay, now let's look at the variables. X squared and x. What is the smallest exponent between x squared and x to the first? Well, that's just an x to the first, so I'm going to write an x there. And what's nice about this, like I said in the previous video, is that you can just fill in what goes here, here, and here by kind of solving the puzzle. So ask yourself, what times 4x gives me 4x squared? Well, that has to be a 1, right? Because 1 times 4 is 4, right? And then x times x gives me x squared. All right? 4, what times 4x gives me 8x? Well, that has to be a 2, right? So that's a 2. And I like to always double check. 4x times 2 is 8x. All right, what times 1x gives me a negative x? Well, that's going to have to be a negative 1. And then lastly, I always like to check this. Negative 1 times 2, does it give me this number here? And it does. A negative times a positive gives me a negative here. So then that means that my factors are going to be 4x minus 1 and x plus 2. So this factored is going to be equal to 4x minus 1 times x plus 2. Alright, hope that helped you. If it did, then go ahead and give this video a like, subscribe, share it with somebody if you think it'll help them, and I hope you have a great day.